In the fall of 1923, on a switchback grade outside Cripple Creek, Colorado, a freight teamster named Otis Bramwell lost 400 pounds of mining timber off the back of his wagon on a curve he'd driven 100 times before. The load came loose at the worst possible second, took the wagon's rear wheel with it over the edge, took Otis with it. The coroner's report blamed the brakes, said the grade was too steep, the load too heavy, the horses too tired. The other teamsters in that outfit knew better. They'd all seen how Otis tied a load. Fast, careless, 3 wraps and a granny knot he called good enough. Every one of them had told him it wouldn't hold on a grade like that. Every one of them was right. It wasn't the brakes that killed Otis Bramwell, friend. It was a knot, or rather, the lack of one. Because what Otis was tying wasn't a knot at all. It just looked like one until the road proved otherwise. Here's the twist. Rope has never been the weak link in securing a load. It never was. What men did to it, or didn't do to it, was. There's a rig your great-grandfather could tie with 18 feet of rope and his bare hands that generates more holding tension than most men can crank into a cheap ratchet strap, and it costs you about $18 to own everything you'll ever need to do it. No ratchet mechanism to strip, no strap to fray and snap in the cold, just rope, a system. And the same trick teamsters, cowhands, and log haulers used for 150 years before anybody bolted a ratchet to a strap and charged you $30 for the privilege. I'm going to walk you through the whole method today, piece by piece, the way it was actually done. And I'm going to build you all the way to the one step Otis Bramwell skipped. The step that's the real difference between a load that rides and a load that runs you off a mountain road. We'll get there. Stay with me. I didn't learn to pack a load from a manual. I learned it from men who hauled fence posts and hay and firewood down grades steep enough to make a modern trailer brake controller nervous, using nothing but rope, wood blocking, and a knot that's been keeping loads on wagons since before the automobile existed. Everything in this video I've tied myself, tested myself, hauled down my own mountain roads more times than I can count. Before we get into it, hit subscribe. Not for me, for the next one. The rope trick isn't the only piece of rigging know-how getting quietly buried under a warehouse aisle of plastic ratchet straps, and you're going to want what's coming after this. There are 5 pieces to doing this right. 5 in order. Skip 1, your load shifts. Skip the last one, you get what Otis Bramwell got. Most people who try this the first time get the first 3 close enough to feel confident. It's the 4th where they usually stop short of real ratchet strap tension. But it's the 5th piece, the one almost nobody mentions, that decides whether the rope is still doing its job 300 miles down the highway. We build to it piece by piece. Piece 1. The rope. This starts before the load ever goes on the truck. It starts with what's coiled in your hand. Picture a coil of 3-strand twisted nylon rope, 1/2 inch diameter, the kind that's been the workhorse of ranch and rail yard alike for the better part of a century. That's your rope, not the paracord in your bug-out bag, not clothesline, not the frayed length that's been living in your garage since your father owned the place. 1/2 inch, 3-strand, twisted nylon, that diameter matters. Thinner rope cuts into your hands under real tension and gives you less to grip when you need mechanical advantage. Twisted rope, not braided because twisted rope grips itself in a knot the way braided rope never quite does, and every knot in this method depends on rope biting into rope. $18 gets you 50 feet at any farm supply or hardware store, and 50 feet is enough rope to secure most loads a pickup or small trailer will ever carry. That's your entire investment. No mechanism to buy, no replacement parts, no strap that degrades in UV light and snaps without warning on a cold morning. Inspect it before every haul the way an old teamster inspected his harness leather. Run the whole length through your closed fist. Feel for fuzzing, for stiff dead spots, for any section where the strands have started separating. Rope tells you when it's tired if you bother to ask it. Retire anything that's started to feel more like wire than rope. This week's assignment: go buy your 50 feet. Half-inch, 3-strand, twisted nylon. Coil it properly over the hand and around the elbow, not wound around your arm, and keep it dry. That's piece 1, and it costs you less than a fast food meal for 2. Piece 2, the load. The mistake 9 out of 10 people make with a rope-secured load isn't in the tying. It's in what happens before the rope ever touches the cargo, and it's the reason even a perfectly tied rope sometimes fails. An unsecured load doesn't just sit there waiting to be strapped down. It wants to shift the second your truck brakes, turns, or hits a pothole. And rope tension alone cannot fight physics if the load itself is stacked wrong underneath it. Load heaviest items low and forward, over the axle, not the tailgate. That's not folklore. It's the same principle that kept a wagon's weight balanced over its wheels rather than its tailgate, and it hasn't changed with the invention of the pickup truck. Block your load laterally before you ever reach for rope. Wood blocking wedged against the sides of a stack of lumber or the corners of a crate does more to prevent shifting than any amount of rope tension applied afterward. Rope holds a load down. It does a much poorer job holding a load from sliding sideways on its own if nothing's stopping that slide in the first place. And never rely on rope alone to compress a loose pile into a solid mass. Tarp and bundle loose cargo, firewood, gravel, brush into a unit first. A rope thrown over a loose pile just squeezes the top layer while everything underneath keeps shifting independently, heavy and forward, blocked laterally, bundled if it's loose. Then, and only then, does the rope go on. Piece 3. The knot. Now the part you came here for. The Cowboy's answer to a ratchet strap, and it's a single knot combined with a pulley system made entirely of rope. Teamsters, cowhands, and log haulers called it different things in different parts of the country. Most everybody today calls it a trucker's hitch, and it does the exact job of a ratchet and mechanical advantage without a single moving part to strip or rust. Here's how it's actually tied step by step the way it was handed down. Anchor one end of your rope to a solid tie-down point, a bed rail, a cleat, a stake pocket, with 2 half hitches snugged tight. That's your fixed end. Run the rope up and over your load, down to the opposing anchor point on the other side. Now, partway down that second run, with slack still in the rope, tie a loop in the standing line. Old-timers called it a slippery half hitch, or you can tie a simple loop knot if that's what you know. This loop becomes your pulley. It has to hold under tension without slipping, and it has to release with one pull of the tail when you're done. Take the working end of the rope, feed it down through your anchor point at the base, then back up through that loop you just tied. You've now built a 2-to-1 pulley system using nothing but rope crossing through rope. The same mechanical advantage principle as a block and tackle minus the hardware. Pull down hard on that working end. You'll feel it, real tension, more than your bare hands could ever generate pulling a strap flat by hand, because the loop is doing the mechanical work for you. This is the moment a ratchet strap earns its keep on a store shelf, and it's the exact moment the trucker's hitch matches it, stride, for free. Once you've cranked every ounce of slack out of that line, hold your tension and tie it off at the anchor point with 2 half hitches, same as you started. Don't let go until that knot is locked, or every bit of tension you just built walks right back out of the rope. Repeat this at every strap point your load needs. Most loads want at least 2, front and back, sometimes 3 or 4 across a longer haul. This week's assignment: go tie this in your driveway with nothing on the line but the rope itself, 10 times, until your hands know it without your eyes checking every step. That muscle memory is the difference between tying this calmly on the shoulder of a highway and fumbling with it while traffic passes 6 feet away. Piece 4. The tension. Here's where most people who try this the first time quietly settle for less than they should. And it's not because the trucker's hitch doesn't work. It's because they stop pulling too soon. A ratchet strap forces tension into a load, whether the person cranking it wants to stop early or not. The mechanism does the stubbornness for you. Rope doesn't. Rope only holds the tension you personally were willing to fight for, and that means the trucker's hitch punishes a half-hearted pull. Get your full body weight behind that working end, not just your arm. Old teamsters braced a boot against the wagon bed and leaned back into it with their whole frame. You're not trying to be gentle with the rope. You're trying to remove every inch of slack the 2-to-1 pulley will let you remove, right up until the load itself stops giving. Test your tension the same way an old-timer tested harness leather. Press down hard on the rope between 2 tie points. It should feel like a guitar string, not a hammock. If you can flex it more than an inch or 2 with 2 fingers, you left tension on the table, and that tension is exactly what a ratchet strap would have taken from you automatically. Multiple strap points compound this. A load secured with tension at 4 points, front, back, and both sides, resists shifting in every direction a highway can throw at it. Braking, cornering, potholes, crosswind. A single rope thrown over the top, however well tied, only fights gravity. It does nothing for the load that wants to slide forward under hard braking or sideways through a curve. Pattern break. Everything up to here, an old ranch hand could teach you in an afternoon behind the barn. Rope, load prep, the hitch, real tension at multiple points, 4 pieces. Most people who've hauled a trailer more than a handful of times already know some version of all 4. What's coming next is the piece almost nobody mentions because a well-tied trucker's hitch looks finished the moment the knot is locked off. It isn't. And it's the exact piece that put Otis Bramwell's wagon over the edge outside Cripple Creek, not because his knot was weak that morning, but because of something the mountain grade did to his rope mile after mile that he never once checked. Piece 5. The chafe point. This is the piece the ratchet strap salesmen never have to think about, because a nylon strap is woven flat and wide and mostly shrugs off the edges it rides across. Rope doesn't have that luxury, and pretending otherwise is exactly what killed men on grades like the one outside Cripple Creek. Here's the frontier reality nobody warns you about. A rope under real tension, riding across a sharp edge, a tailgate lip, a raw plank corner, an angle iron rail, will saw through its own strands mile after mile, road vibration after road vibration, until a rope that tested perfectly strong in your driveway lets go on a curve 40 miles down the highway. That's not a flaw in the trucker's hitch. It's a flaw in stopping the job the moment the knot is tied. Every edge your rope crosses under tension is a knife you built into your own rig, and the rope will not tell you it's failing until it already has. The old teamster's answer was simple, and it cost nothing. Pad every edge before the rope ever crosses it. A folded burlap sack, a scrap of old carpet, a split length of garden hose slit and slipped over the rope at the contact point, anything that puts a soft buffer between taut rope and a hard corner. Otis Bramwell's outfit carried burlap sacking in the wagon box for exactly this purpose, and the men who used it reliably never lost a load on that grade. The men who didn't eventually did. Check your chafe points the same way you check your knot, too, before you pull out onto the road, and again any time you stop for fuel on a long haul. Run 2 fingers along every spot the rope crosses metal or a sharp wood edge. If you feel fuzzing, fraying, or flattened strands, that rope has already started dying, whether it looks tight or not. Tension tells you the rope is holding right now. Only the chafe points tell you whether it's going to still be holding 100 miles from now. Bringing it together. So here's your whole method, friend, laid out plain. 1/2 inch, 3-strand, twisted nylon rope inspected before every haul. Load packed heavy and forward, blocked laterally, bundled if it's loose. A trucker's hitch tied at every strap point your load needs. Anchor, loop, mechanical pull-through, lock off. Real tension, full body weight behind it, tested until the rope feels like a guitar string instead of a hammock. And every edge that rope crosses padded before you ever pull onto the highway, checked again any time you stop. $18, 50 feet of rope and nothing else, against a mechanism that fails the moment its ratchet housing cracks in the cold or its strap frays in the sun. This was never really about the rope, neighbor. It was about not needing a hardware store shelf between you and a load that stays put. If your ratchet strap snaps a tooth 40 miles from the nearest store, you tie a trucker's hitch and keep driving. If you inherit your grandfather's flatbed and every strap in the shed rotted out years ago, you've still got the one piece of gear that never expires, rope and the knowledge of what to do with it. You don't have to master every haul this weekend. Do one thing. This week, go tie the hitch in your driveway 10 times on nothing but a fence post. That's the whole entry ticket into a skill that hauled this country's freight for 150 years before anybody sold you a ratchet. Tell me down in the comments, did anybody ever teach you to tie a load down before ratchet straps showed up? Trucker's hitch, a different knot, something regional your family swore by? The story that gets the most comments is the one I'm going deep on next. Otis Bramwell's rope held the load fine every single morning until the one it didn't. Now you know the piece he never checked. Don't let that mountain grade catch you the way it caught him. Next time, the $2 wagon wheel trick that kept Frontier axles running for a decade without a drop of modern grease. And the year the auto industry made sure your grandfather forgot it. Keep the old ways. They kept us.